Hey everyone, and welcome back to FSI DFS. I am McKinley412, and today we're going to be breaking down the 5-game early slate on Draftkings, the afternoon slate here. We are going to have a separate video where we're going to be breaking down the 7-game main slate later in the day. But for now, it's just the 5-game early slate, so let's just dive right into it. No weather concerns that we need to really be worried about at the moment. Obviously, weather is something that you need to make sure that you're checking throughout the day, just with the thunderstorms that do pop up. And you also need to make sure that you're paying attention to the news relating towards COVID. You never know if a team has some positive tests and there's a late postponement in there that you weren't expecting. So make sure you're staying up to date with all those sorts of things. Looking at pitcher here, we're just going to go through kind of each pitcher just because it is a short slate. We can get through all 10 fairly quickly here. Scherzer is your top option, 10,700. Pretty high. I think this might be the second highest that we've seen so far this season with a pitcher, apart from DeGrom. But he's going up against St. Louis, and they're a mid-tier team when it comes to strikeout percentage against righties. The crazy thing about St. Louis right now, and I'm harping on it like crazy in our Discord right now, just because I think it's so wild, but their bats, they are all or nothing right now. And they kind of have been all season. But particularly these past 8 games, they're currently on an 8-game run where they've either scored 2 or fewer runs or 9 or more runs. So they're either getting completely lit up by the pitcher or they're lighting up the pitcher and taking them yard. So Scherzer, the strikeout potential is certainly there. And going against the team that has been struggling, obviously, like I said, they're hitting either 9 or more or 2 or fewer. I think he's still a safe option tomorrow. I think he doesn't have any issues at holding down St. Louis. So obviously, SP1, don't have to talk too much about that. Lamet for San Diego. This is his first start after coming off a UCL injury, UCL sprain. He's a career 31% strikeout pitcher. Last season he was absurd 35% in 68 innings. So he's going against Milwaukee, who's a high strikeout team. They still don't have Yelich. So the bats have been struggling here a little bit. Lamet has pitched in a simulated game. They got him up to 75 pitches. So there's a definite possibility that he can still go 5-6 innings, depending on how things go. But you just never know. Simulated, it's not the real game. If there wasn't any injury concern or this being his first start, I would say he's easily the best SP2 option on the slate. But because I do have a little bit concern, I'm not locking in him just yet. I kind of want to get some more news, want to see the lineups and see how things shake out from there. Hauser for Milwaukee on the other side of that game. He's 8-4. He hasn't gone 5 innings all season. He's got limited strikeout potential. He's going against San Diego, who strikes out the least in the entire league. And they gave him an $800 salary boost. So absolutely no interest in him there. No cash interest, no GPP interest. Because like I said, he's not going far into games and he doesn't strike anybody else. Urquidy for Houston. He's pitching in Coors right now. So he's going up against a heavy lefty Colorado offense. They can probably put 6 or 7 lefties in that lineup. Currently a 28% strikeout pitcher. It's still a small sample size this season, but he was never been this high in his major league career. Colorado, obviously with the Coors effect, they're a top 5 offense in runs scored per game so far this season at home. So cash, I'm not really too interested in him. I do see some slight regression coming with his strikeout rate, and being in Coors kind of puts me off there as well. But GPP, I think you could certainly make the case just based on how high his strikeout rate has been this season. I mean, he's approaching the 30% mark. But really, that's mainly for the deep GPP fields here, especially if you have like multiple lineups. You can throw some in there. He's not going to be owned very much at all, especially because of the two guys listed below him. Montas for Oakland. He's had a crazy good last two starts. He really struggled in his first start against the Dodgers. But his past two starts, he faced Houston and Detroit, and he was phenomenal. His price has only gone up 300. He's at 7.6. And now he's facing a Twins lineup. They're a top tier offense, in my opinion. They're not as scary, in my opinion, against righties. But you still have to watch out for them and the power that they can bring. 7.6, pretty cheap. So I could see him being a popular cash play today. K upside, it's there. He's 25% for his career, so he's not terrible. Obviously, you would like it to be a bit higher. But like I said, for that 7.6 price range, I think he's certainly viable there. On the other side of that game, Kenta Maeda, crazy stat here, right? Maeda has gone 18 consecutive starts with 3 or fewer earned runs. You have to go all the way back to August of 2019 in order to have that stat broken, where he allowed 5 runs. So Oakland, he's facing them. They were blistering hot for a while there, about a week, but they've cooled off slightly. I mean, okay, they've come back to earth a little bit. Maeda's strikeout percentage so far this season is only 23%. It's the lowest he's been in his entire career. So I do expect it to bump up as the season goes on. Like I said, with him never really being a blow up risk, I think at 7.4, he's certainly a cash option if you need to find that savings and you want the bigger bats. Quintana for the Angels going up against the Texas Rangers. He was putrid his first 2 starts of the season. Allowed 9 earned runs in 5 innings, good for a 16.2 ERA. He was walking a lot of batters, but it was the complete opposite to how his spring training went. His spring training, he was invincible. He had 14 innings, only allowed 1 run, had 15 strikeouts, wasn't really walking anybody. He was amazing. So I don't know what happened between spring and the start of the season, but it wasn't good, that's for sure. So now he goes up against Texas, bats that have been struggling. And what I do like about Quintana here, that's making him a GPP play, in my opinion, even with his awful start, is that he's had 10 days off. He was supposed to start against Minnesota, but they were the game that got scratched because of the COVID concerns or the COVID positive test that popped up. So he hasn't pitched 10 days, and maybe that's what he needed to kind of put those awful starts behind him and just kind of move on forward to what he was doing in the spring. So cash, I'm not interested in him just because of that blow up risk there. But GPP, I think he's going to make a great option just because I don't think he's going to have much ownership at all because of those game logs that you do see when you click on his name in Draftkings. Other side of that game, and we're just moving down salary-wise, Foltynewicz for Texas, he's 6.6K. He's going up against an LA offense who has some power. They're a solid offense. Folty, he's allowed 5 home runs already this season. He's allowed 2, 2, and 1 in his 3 starts. He did well. I'm not going to say he's pitched poorly this season, but at 6.6, for 800 more, you can get to Maeda. You don't get as much of a blow-up risk. He's in a better matchup as well. So I'm not interested in Folty. Carlos Martinez, I'm going to be targeting him every day that he pitches. If you watch these videos, you already know that. I am a Carlos Martinez hater. I think he's a terrible pitcher, and I don't know what St. Louis keeps doing, sending him back out there. And then Gomber for Colorado, pitching against Houston and Coors. Totally pass there. That was a lot. So just to kind of recap where I'm at here, Scherzer, clearly the top option. You don't need me to tell you that. Lamet for San Diego, I think he's a great play if there wasn't that this being his first game back from the UCL sprain and that long recovery that he had. So he could still go 5-6 innings. He's a very strong strikeout pitcher going against a high strikeout Milwaukee team. So I think he's probably going to be my SP2, but there is concern there. The other two guys that I'm interested in are Montas and Maeda, both pitchers from that Minnesota-Oakland game. Everybody else, not interested in at all. Quintana, you can make a case for GPP. Same with Urquidy, but everybody else, no thanks. So let's turn our attention here to the bats. Obviously, Coors Field, it's going to be popular. Houston's going to be popular, going against Gomber. And they're honestly not priced too terribly or too crazy. It's not like the Dodgers prices that we saw in Coors to start the season. So Houston, popular, but let's look away from this Coors game. My two favorite bats outside of Coors, first one is Washington. You know, losing Juan Soto, it hurts. He just went on the 10-day IL, but it still is Carlos Martinez. Like I said, I don't think he's a great pitcher. I know I'm not the only one that thinks that, because when he struggles, he really struggles. So I talked about the St. Louis bats being all or nothing earlier. He's kind of the same way here. And I could see them being lower ownership just because of Soto being out. The lineup does not look nearly as threatening. But honestly, it just kind of makes the Washington stack even cheaper. So if you want to go with those top two pitchers of like Scherzer and Lamet, Washington stack doesn't seem as expensive anymore. You can definitely slide them in there. They haven't really scored too much this season, though, and that's the main concern. However, I mentioned this in a stat a couple videos ago. While Washington isn't putting up the runs scored, they're getting a lot of hits. Okay, they're one of the top teams in the league when it comes to hits per game. They just need to somehow string those hits together, so they're not just stranding two guys on base every single inning. So Washington is my favorite, or one of my two favorite bats outside of Coors. The other one is the Angels. They have the power, they have the talent, okay, and they're going up against Foltynewicz. It's in LA, but Foltynewicz, I talked about how he hasn't been poor this season, but it's mainly against the right-handed bats here. The left-handers that are going up against Folty have been crazy so far. Here's another stat for you. I love stats in case you haven't noticed. 22%. Okay, now small sample size, granted, but 22% of the left-handed bats that have gone against Foltynewicz this season have hit an extra base hit. So 1 in 5 of the guys, of the lefties that go up to bat this season against him, they've either hit a double, triple, or home run. He's allowed 2 doubles, a triple, and 4 home runs. So especially the Angels lefties like Ohtani, Walsh, I think one of them or even both of them are going to be taking him deep today. Like I said, the righties have really struggled against him, though, but I think there's plenty enough talent on this Angels team where I don't have too much concern. They do have high price tags, though. So if you do go with the Angels stack, like a larger stack, you're probably going to be having to pay down to guys like Maeda or Quintana or Montas. You're probably not going to be throwing in Lamet with Scherzer. Or you could just do a mini stack just with the 2 lefties that I mentioned in Ohtani and Walsh. And I think that kind of wraps everything up here with this 5-game slate. Like I said, no other concerns. Everything seems pretty straightforward with pitchers and bats. I like Washington and I like the Angels outside of Coors. So I hope to see you guys in our Discord here shortly. We have a bunch of free rooms in our Discord at FSI DFS. The MLB room is a premium, but pricing is very reasonable, very reasonable. So as always, hit that thumbs up button. Let us down below in the comments what you like, what you don't like. We read every single comment that you guys post, and we do appreciate the feedback that you guys have been giving us. So good luck in your contest today, and make sure to check out that other video for the main slate later tonight. See you later.